Welcome to the Growth Series podcast, where we explore how innovation, AI, and human intelligence are transforming the way businesses grow. I'm your host, Josh Jackson, founder of Red Letter AI, where we help organizations combine high-tech systems with high-touch leadership. Our focus is simple. We build smart, scalable frameworks that help companies attract better clients, simplify their process, and scale their impact without losing that human connection. Because while AI can automate outreach, only authentic leadership creates alignment, trust, and loyalty. That's why everything we do sits on the intersection of HI and AI. And each week, I sit down with leaders who are driving growth, not just through technology, but through people. Those who believe in culture, clarity, and communication are the real multipliers. So if you're a business that knows your next level of growth won't come from only working harder, but working smarter, you're in the right place. Well, today, my guest is Joan Fletcher, the founder and CEO of Winning Ways, Inc., a leadership development and executive coaching company that's been transforming organizations for nearly 4 decades. Yes, nearly 40 years. Joan leads a team of 15 world-class coaches who are partnered with senior leadership teams to amplify what's already working and transform good leaders into great leaders. Her approach to leadership is all about alignment and creating thriving environments where people love to work. Joan and her team are known for helping executives tap into their full potential and build organizations that sustain long-term success. Joan, welcome to the podcast today.
Thank you, Josh. I am very excited to be here with you today.
Yes, so you've been in this field for almost 40 years, from teaching at a graduate level to leading a team of executive coaches who have implemented some of the country's most respected organizations. Take us back a little. What inspired you to start Winning Ways, and what's kept you so passionate about the work that you've done all these years?
So many things I could say, but if I look at it, the big picture, I have always improved and been happier and done better when I increased my awareness about something, like started to notice how the other person was listening to me or not listening to me, years and years ago, or noticing, someone would do something totally different than I would do if I was on a committee or working with someone on a project. And I've always found that the more I increase my awareness, the better I become, the better my connections become. And along with that, understanding emotional intelligence. And I grew up in the Midwest on a farm by 2 parents that had work ethics that there is no way to explain. They worked all the time. That's what they were supposed to do.
Especially farming, yes.
Especially farming and all the things they did. And so I grew up with very little emotional intelligence. We didn't talk about our emotions. We couldn't be emotional. If you had a bad day at school, suck it up and do the work you have to do when you get home, get your homework done. And so then I, start out in the work world, and I start noticing, I become more aware of how limited my emotional intelligence was. And I started paying more attention to it. And then in the early 90s, that first book was written by Daniel Goleman, and it was just like unbelievable that what I had been noticing about myself and lacking, he was just spelling out how to work on it. So my awareness of how I show up, how other people accept me or don't accept me or interact with me, and how my emotional intelligence is lacking or is working just is so profound to me. And so I started doing this with leaders, and it just propelled my whole career and still does to this day. It's on, how can you become more aware and what's going to change once you realize how others are perceiving it and how you're perceiving it. And that's been, that's been the huge catalyst and the engine all the way through these years of my business.
Yeah. Well, and we talked previously before we did this podcast, and I know you mentioned that Winning Ways is focused on top performers and leadership who are already great, good, but want to go further and become great and exceptional. For those who don't know your work, what exactly do you do? What does your team do? And what kind of clients do you like working with the most?
Thank you, Josh. What good questions. So, if you think about it, the only people out there that are really interested in increasing their awareness and increasing their emotional intelligence are the people out there that are already really tuned in. So as I started my work, and meeting prospects and talking to people and talking to companies, it didn't take long for me to realize that people that weren't interested in developing their leadership even more, they were not interested in anything that I did. So I kind of quickly started to get into this niche of really high performing people. And, it's continued to this day. Those are the people that we love to work with, but they're also the people that are saying, hey, I'm effective in this leadership thing, but I want to be more than effective. I want to be highly effective. And those are the people that we are just pulled to. And we have some clients that we have worked with for over 15 years in organizations, and we have just stuck. And they're organizations that have created these unbelievably great cultures where people are seen and heard, and productivity is really high, and things are working well. So you said about your company too, the culture, the clarity, just being really into helping people create a better system because of all the people they're leading. It's such a ripple effect. So I don't know. Did I answer every question you asked me?
I think so.
Okay, good.
This is free flow. I just want to have we have a great conversation here. So, you've been doing this a long time, and you've have done it long enough to see the evolution of leadership development, from one-on-one coaching, talking with peer leadership circles. So from your perspective, how has the industry changed over the years, and what are some of the biggest challenges leaders are facing today?
That's so interesting. So in my industry, in the leadership coaching industry, I think a lot of things have changed because years ago, 30 years ago, we didn't even call ourselves coaches, and we definitely didn't have anywhere to go to get certified. And when we went into organizations and suggested coaching, they didn't know what we were talking about. Some were not interested just because they had never heard of it. Some were interested in it because they had never heard of it. And now, like just in an hour before we went on the podcast, I was talking with a very senior leader who the organization has said that they would pay for coaching. And this person has been in high leadership roles for almost 20 years and has never worked with a coach and has wanted to. So it's changed because now we're working with people that have heard of coaching, or they've been coached multiple times and they want more coaching. So that part of the industry, it's gotten really interesting. As far as the leadership industry, if we can call that an industry, we are just seeing leaders that are working in extremely tough situations, tougher situations than we've seen before. There's this term in the 70s that the military used, the Army, called VUCA, VUCA. And it was talking about leaders had to deal with VUCA all day long. It was very volatile. It was very uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And, in the 90s and even in 2000s, very rarely did that come up when I was working with a leader or when I was working with a leadership team. Now, since the pandemic, VUCA is something that I see every single day. Almost every leader I'm working with or one of my team members are working with, they're in the middle of VUCA. They are just, it's interesting. A colleague of mine spoke to it was all scientists, and a large group of scientists on Saturday and at this conference. And one of her questions to the group was, out of VUCA, what is the one that you're experiencing the most right now? And I haven't talked to her since, so I don't know the answer to that. But I will tell you that she said, it just went over so well. Everyone immediately was, writing down on their card which one they're hit with. She said, it didn't look like anyone sitting there was like, oh no, everything's fine. Everything's great. So I think that that's one thing that's happening in leadership right now that we're all noticing. Whether you're a leader or whether you're a coach or a facilitator, you're walking into these situations that are all really spicy and hot. And, you have to be able to listen a lot and then hopefully with their help, really figure out what they need to do. So some real great work is happening with
Yeah.
great outcomes. But it's changed a bit. It's gotten, I believe, it's gotten much, much more VUCA.
Right. So what really stands out to me about winning ways is that you start at the top of the organization. Because you're talking about VUCA, if there's any part of the top of the organization that's not healthy, we'll say, it's not going to get better as you go down the food chain or down into the employees. And so can you walk us through your year-long program, how it creates lasting alignment within the organization?
I would love to do that because that is one of my favorite topics. The book that I wrote, I wrote it in 24, published it in 24, but the whole point of that was to talk about what I have noticed in my years of facilitating and coaching. And what I was noticing, especially in the facilitation, that it didn't necessarily matter how hard I worked at being a great facilitator. I often had groups that, 2 weeks later or 6 months later, that they hadn't implemented all of the great things that I had covered. And I know the research on that shares that. It's really doom and gloom if you do training and development. And so I just started trying a lot of different things and keeping track of it, my own little in-house research. And over, I'd say almost 2 decades, I created this intentional learning model. And I'm just doing it for myself and my clients, and I start using it in all of my programs. Well, what started happening was in all of these programs, these leaders I was working with, they just kept their skill set. The things that they learned in the program, they tweaked their behaviors, and a year later, they would be talking to me and saying, well, and of course, I listen at level 3 for that meeting. And at this meeting, I'm listening at level 2. And the other thing I wanted, and they would just start sounding like they had just walked out of a training session, a training and development session. And so I found that these little things that I was putting in there were like gold. But if I removed one of them, I wouldn't have as much stickiness. And so I really realized I had to have all of these steps in the program, and they had to be at least a 7-month-long program. The organizations really loved it because it was just like a half day once a month. So they were like, yeah, we can do that. And as long as we did it for 7 months, most of the programs we run are 8 to 12 months, but sometimes we do a 7-month program. It sticks. So we've got these leaders that we're working with, and we start at the executive level. So the CEO is totally tuned in, totally has that experience that everyone else is having. So now we've got the whole organization at the top aligned. So then we come in and we do the next layer, and then we do the next layer, and we move them through these things. They all get the steps through the intentional learning model. And we're just it's amazing. I expanded, brought on more coaches. I have all these coaches certified in this program, the program of the intentional learning model. So whether we're coming into your organization and we're helping you build a mentoring program or providing the mentoring program, whether we come into your organization and we're doing our leadership evolution program, which is the main program we're known for, probably because of the book I wrote, but it's not necessarily the only program we do. It's so exciting to know that you can share something in a short half-day session, and when you come back a month later, they're sharing what they've used and what they've done, what they've noticed, where their awareness is now, what they weren't aware of before. Now they're learning new things that month, and then we go another month. And so every month we're just seeing the growth. And that's why we called it evolution, because they just evolve. They start talking about their evolution. At the end of all our programs, we do a final, it's graduation, but we do a final presentation. So each leader, whatever level we're working at, they give a presentation on their growth. And it's something that they get nervous about. They have to go back to their first day when they started with it, and they have to do all this, and they're just fascinating. Often there's no dry eye in the room because they're with all their peers, and each peer is standing up and saying, this is what I set out to work on and change. And you can just see all his peers or her peers nodding their head like, we've seen it. We've seen you do this. We've seen your growth. It's totally different than what I used to do in the first decade of my business, where I would just put together a workshop for someone and I would go do that. And hopefully I did a good job, but we tried to never do ones or twos.
Yeah.
Because we just aren't getting the results out of it that the client deserves.
Right. So you can't, what you're saying is you can't fix everything in a lunch and learn, right?
Can't fix everything in a lunch and learn. That's right.
I gotta bring it up. Like previously when we talked, you mentioned that you've had clients for more than 10 years. I mean that's a rare continuity, and I imagine I'd love your answer on this, but I imagine it's because as they see your value, they see the results, but then as the business grows, that leads to other problems that they didn't have previously. So why do you think clients have been with you for 10 years? Because that's very rare.
Well, actually, I have clients that have been with me for more than 15. So I have two clients, two organizations, a tech company and a financial services company that have been with us for over 15 years. And I had a CEO, not one of those CEOs, a CEO I talked to a couple weeks ago, and he said something to me that I'll get it on video because it was so profound. But he said, Joan, I just made a big decision. No one can earn their partnership, become a partner, principal, wrong word. No one can become a principal in our organization until they've gone through the LEP, the Leadership Evolution Program. He said, I want to tell you why I just announced that to the entire company. And he went on to say
awesome.
That you won't make it. You can't be a principal unless you have evolved yourself and you have grown your leadership. So if you are offered to attend in this program and you think you want to be a principal in the future, you need to attend that program and throw your heart into it. Yeah. And I mean, when we get backings like that, we're in the organization a long time. And, we love it because there's a real culture there of people putting their growth, maybe not always first, but putting it right up there in the top things that they need to be focused on. It's exciting.
Yeah. So you're not just a company, you're becoming a partner with the company as they grow.
Exactly. That's right.
So,
we are partners. I mean,
I love it.
Yeah. I mean, we have a lot of different locations, coaches located all over the US, and I'm located right outside of DC. And I mean, in January, one call came in the afternoon, a couple of days later, a call came in the evening, two different CEOs, big clients of ours had signed contracts with us for this year. And they both called to say, we're reducing our staff by over 20%. It's going to be the most heartbreaking day of my life to let these people go that I've known so long. And Joan, I cannot as a CEO reduce more than 20% of my staff and have a major leadership program roll out the same year. And I was like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. You can't do that. And so we just dropped those two contracts with the same week. And I don't think there was any other answer for them. And I was so impressed that they made that very difficult call. I know both these CEOs well. And both of them have called me, and we're on track to do it in January, this coming January. But the point is, yes, we're in partnership with them. We're all about leadership. What's the right answer? If you're a highly effective leader, what's the right answer? And yeah, definitely partnership. It's hard.
Well, yeah, those are incredible stories and incredible testimonials. So I would love to hear from you right now about Winning Ways. Like, what is it today that you're most excited about in the business?
Yeah, so many things. I mean, one thing, yeah. Well, I'm very excited at this point in my business because now, I mean, the book is behind me, which took a lot of me. The coaches we're working with, we're working together more and more and more. We're talking a lot. We're working on projects together. We're being invited into more organizations. So for 2026, and even if I look, 5 years out, there's a lot of growth we want. We want to be in more organizations. We want to see more organizations make these changes, know how to handle a very difficult meeting and handle it professionally. Know how to handle a person on your team that is making it not very psychologically safe in team meetings or in the team space. We want that leader to be empowered to be able to handle that, so it doesn't get to the place of HR. It doesn't become, something that everyone in the organization knows this leader can't manage their team, or whatever situation you're in. It's most likely a situation that we have worked with a lot, and we would love to help that. And with all that said, we are so drawn to those leaders that they know that they do almost everything really well. These are the people we're fascinated with. They pretty much, they work hard, they read, they study, they grow themselves, they're into their well-being, they're taking their PTO, they're doing all the right things, and they know they could be doing more. And we just are trying to find ways to connect with them and introduce ourselves to them. So we see, we just see a lot of growth. I would love to see every single one of my coaches in at least 3 year-long programs for 26 and for the years after that. If we did that, then we'd really be maximizing what all of us can do. So those are really aggressive goals. That's what we have. So I guess
absolutely,
I'll touch base with you, Josh, next November.
Yeah,
Let you know what
yeah,
happened.
yeah. I want to know. I mean, I think if you get this testimonial, that's something a lot of people are going to want to hear, and that could propel you as well to that goal. But
Yeah,
you touched on
absolutely.
something in there that it hit me. It's talking about these leaders, these CEOs of these companies, being healthy and taking their PTO. Not only taking their PTO, but also having an organization that can kind of run without them. Doesn't need them for every decision.
Yes.
And they don't have to live on their phone. And, then when they're with their family, they can focus on their family. And I think that's vastly overlooked. And when people live that lifestyle, they get burned out very quickly. So I just love that you threw that in there. I know it's a small thing, but to me that speaks a lot, because I know of a lot of CEOs that have had that issue before.
Yes. We have some leaders. I talked to a leader just this morning, not a client, now a client, but we haven't started any services for him. And the leader said that they're so concerned because they're going to miss the entire month of December because they didn't use their vacation or their PTO. And I'm like, okay, well, how's that going to work for you to be gone the entire month of December? So we were talking about that. So whoever, but his coach through my organization, his coach is going to hopefully really transform the way that this leader sees taking care of himself, because he's really run down. And, burnout right now, I just wrote several blogs on it that are going out right now through LinkedIn and through my newsletter. Burnout, I didn't even understand what it was. I've always tossed the word around and heard people toss it around. And I was going through some significant burnout a year ago. And if it hadn't been for a colleague of mine that said, Joan, I think you're burned out. And I'm like, yeah, I know I am. And they said, no, read about it, Joan. And I have great trust in this person. So when I got off the Zoom with them, I started reading about burnout, and I realized I had very late stage burnout. And, then I had to work on figuring out, what do I do about burnout and how do I solve it? And I think my blogs are very vulnerable. I mean, I just shared how difficult it was and why I got the burnout and how it came without me knowing it. And if I had known about it and seen it sooner, it could have been almost an immediate fix. But because it went on a year and I didn't realize it, I'm still working on it. And the only way you work on burnout is by not working. So it
Right.
really changes how you look at work. I mean, it really is putting boundaries around me. But it wasn't work that caused my burnout. I've been caring for elderly parents, and it's been just so much. 20 is probably what caused my burnout. But I still have to not do that, which is hard on siblings that are picking up my share. And I just have to get myself back in a good place. So these are all
Yeah.
things, right? As leaders, and my blogs are written for leaders. As leaders, you are going to have to recognize burnout, not just in yourself. You're going to have to recognize it in your team members. And you have to catch it quickly, because if you don't, that member is going to be out of commission for months, if not a
Right.
year or two.
Yes.
So,
Right.
all of these things we take, unfortunately, we live through them too, in this case. And so we're really tuned in to how we can help a leader spot this and learn from this and get ahead of it on their team.
Yeah. I mean, I'm no expert in understanding what someone's burnout is and pointing it out to them. However, I have seen the consequences of severe burnout, and from actual people that I know. One was a CEO, and he literally could not get out of bed. Like he was so burned out, he could not get out of bed. And then another one gave himself shingles. So that was a physical manifestation of the amount of stress that they were under for a long period of time, that they got shingles. And if you ever had it, it is no fun at all. And it's the most wild feeling you've ever experienced, with your nerve just on tilt. So like that's the manifestation of what burnout can really do. So it is a real thing. And so
it is a real thing. And see, if they could have known the signs and caught it early in themselves. And, this is going on possibly with people's top team member. And if, look at my position where I'm working with leaders all the time. I'm working cutting edge. I'm reading, studying, going to classes, cutting edge leadership. No one talked about burnout. And I did not recognize it in myself. And I'll never be able to thank my staff enough. Once I figured out what it was, and once I shared it with them, my gosh, I'll have to be careful and not get emotional about this. I was horrible to work with. I had to have been for those months. I just couldn't get anything turned around, anything done. And as soon as they learned what it was and they read about it, they came back with so many ideas. I can do this for you, and I'll take this off your shoulder. And this the first thing they said. They said, and we've looked at your calendar and we have figured out how you can take a week off for the next 3 months. Take a week each month. And they cleared things and moved people. And it was unbelievable. But if you don't know what you're dealing with, you can't deal with it. So, as I write these blogs and talk about this right now, I'm hoping someone's listening to this is like, well, I need to learn more about this because I have someone on my team or myself not acting the same way that I'm used to them acting. Because you'll see so many signs, and you've got to educate them or yourself and take action because it doesn't go away easily.
Right. Well, I have a couple more questions that I have for you. These are more pay it forward questions, okay?
Okay.
So the first one is, if you could give one piece of advice to a CEO struggling with team stagnation, what is the single most critical action they should take right now to ensure everybody is aligned and moving in the same direction?
Well, I probably would say something that you're going to be surprised I say, but I would suggest that you start daily 2-minute meetings with everyone on your team. Daily, 2 minutes. Just a really quick check-in. How are you? What's top of mind today? What do you need from me? And start doing weekly huddles where you just bring the team together, short period of time, half-hour tops. What's our main point for this week? Where are we all going? Who's doing this? Who's doing that? What am I expecting? And make sure everybody is all aligned. And then monthly, longer meeting, maybe now an hour meeting. And that meeting's all about alignment. Where are we all headed? Are we all on the right path? Are we all going to that North Star or wherever it is? And I would start that like today. So if you only have an hour left in your day, use this hour for a 2-minute meeting with every single person on your team. Do it every day. Notice the changes in them. Pick them up. Help them feel good about themselves. Use that 2-minute, how'd your mom do with surgery? How are you doing after this? How's your son? Did he get into the college he wanted? Just check in. Everybody is missing connection. And a lot of people think that we can't have connection virtually. And I cannot tell you how much of a connection we can have virtually. But I know leaders that do a 2-minute phone call every day to every single member on their team. And it is their deepest connection point, and it's the telephone. So if you're not in person, this message is to you. If you are all in person, then stop by that office, stand in that doorway for 2 minutes, every single person. And the other thing, I know you said one thing, but the second thing is get a really great coach for yourself. Get support and someone that's going to bring some new life, new ideas, new strategies into your coaching, into your leadership. And I'm not suggesting you're not an effective leader. I'm just suggesting that everyone can be more effective.
It's fantastic advice, and I agree 100%. So second question is, what is the best piece of business advice you have ever received?
Boy. Well, the one piece I think I said to you earlier, where pick an industry. That was good business advice. Probably the best piece of advice, business advice I ever heard was from a colleague years ago. And he said, Joan, pick your business hours. Pick your business hours, and in those hours, make sure you don't do one thing that isn't helping your family. And I typed that up, cut it out in a little strip of paper, and I taped it to my laptop, my monitor years and years ago. And I can't believe how many times I'd be sitting there doing something, and I glance at it, and I'm like, wait, is this helping my family?
Yeah.
And what it did was it made my business hours business,
Yep.
and my after business hours non-business. So give it all in the times you should, but don't do business all the time. I mean, do what's helping your family. You have a job because you want to help your family. You want to take care of them. You want to have a good life. You want to take care of yourself. You want to travel, all those reasons. Okay, great. Then make sure the hours of that, you're doing that, and make sure outside of those hours, you have hours left. That's hard, but it helped me.
I love it. I learned this lesson from John Maxwell, and he told me to be hyper-focused. Hyper-focused on whatever you're doing. If you're working, you work. If you're with your family, you're with your family. You're not talking about work. You're not answering phone calls. Nothing's going to happen that's going to burn down the house, in the time that you're gone. So be hyper-focused. Everybody deserves your time, but whoever you're giving your time to, make sure that they have 100% of your time. That way you can be 100% in on multiple things.
Absolutely. And of course, John Maxwell is amazing. But absolutely, that the hyper-focus is really the same thing, right?
I'm agreeing with everything you're saying.
Absolutely. I know. It's great.
I fully understand that, and I believe it, and I'm glad you said it. And then last question for you, second last question is, if you could go back in time and talk to your 15-year-old self, what would you tell her?
Be more confident. So I work with a lot of women, and I have suffered from so much of what so many other women suffer from, is we didn't, at 15, at least when I was 15, which I guess was a long time ago, I didn't have anyone saying, become the CEO of the company, make millions of dollars, give 2/3 of it away. I didn't have someone that was setting these goals for me. And I know many 15-year-old boys that was talk, that was actual things being said. And so I'd go back and I would say, Joan, you can do anything you want to do. In fact, you can do more than you can imagine at this point. So just shoot for the highest star, aim for it, and just go for it. I had a grandmother that would tell me, you could do whatever you want, Joan. And that was the only person that was telling me that. Girls back in that would have been dating myself, but that would have been in the 70s. So, we just weren't being told that. But the thing is, I'm still working with female leaders today that are much 20 years younger than me, and they are not being as confident as they need to be in their situation. And they're very talented. That would have been, I wish someone had really planted that gem in my head when I was 15. It took me a while to discover it.
That is excellent advice. And last question is where can people find out more about you?
Easy. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn a lot. So you'll find me LinkedIn, Joan Fletcher, Winning Ways. Just reach out to me. Sign up for my newsletter. You can go to my website, Winning Ways Inc. Inc. for incorporated.com. You can email. I mean, we have info@winningwaysinc.com. You can do jfletcher@winningwaysinc.com. So however, reach out. My phone number is public. Call me. Different people reach out different ways. If you want a book, you can get a book. So lots of different things that you can do.
We will have all of that contact info down in the notes below.
Thank you.
Click on it, however you want to contact Joan, go ahead and go down, click on more, and then you'll see all of her contact information down below. But Joan, I appreciate the time you've spent with us today. Amazing insights. So I'm sure we'll have you on again because there's so many gold nuggets that we couldn't even talk about.
Yes, so many other things, I know. So, well, thank you, Josh. You are a pleasure to talk with. I always enjoy our conversations. So thank you for this opportunity.
Oh, you're too sweet. Thanks, Joan.
Okay, thank you.